Right, so it's quite a depressing scene on this tank at the moment. I get the keys to my new house tomorrow. So as you can see, I've stripped the tank right down. The time's finally come around what I've been dreading to move this behemoth of a tank. So stay tuned to the video and find out exactly how I got the tank from here to here. Right, it's not the prettiest scene in here at the moment because obviously I've got crap everywhere for moving. But step one of this process is going to be to get the fish into a hospital or holding tank while I make the transfer. So the plan that I've got for that is this big blue barrel. It's got a massive water volume in it. So I only intend to have the fish in here for 24 hours. So I'm going to get this over to the new house, get it all set up ready, and then I can come back the day after, start bagging my fish up, take them over to the holding barrel, and then we can drain the tank and start moving the tank over and getting it set up. But the most important thing is getting them a good environment to be in. We're going to take a lot of the filter media from the sump, so things like the alpha grog, a couple of the sponges, and then some of the air stones from the moving bed filter as well. It's really important that we give it some sort of biological filtration, even though it's just going to be 24 hours. There's going to be a lot of fish housed in this barrel, so we want to make sure that they're going to make it through it. Right, so this is day one of the move. I've got my big blue bucket moved into the new house. This is what will be the fish room, but I don't want to show it you in all its glory just yet. I wanted to wait until everything's in here and it's looking nice. But this is the first part of the transaction. So I've filled up the bucket full to the brim. I've dechlorinated the water. I've got a little Aqua One heater. So it's only 25 watt, but it should do the trick. And I've just stuck that in there just to start heating the water up. There's no fish in here yet, so I'm going to set this up now. And then tomorrow I'll bag up the fish, bring them over, and I'll put them into this holding tank where they should be for less than a day. So what you want to do is when you're moving a fish tank, you always want to bring your filter media over wet. Now, it's relatively straightforward if you're using a canister filter, because you can just leave the canister filter full of water. But when you've got a sump, it gets a little bit more complicated, which is a bit of a con when you're moving. The sumps are really mithery to get everything right. So make sure you're keeping everything wet. I've just filled one of these boxes up and then I'm transferring over my my alpha grog. So it's mature, it's from the sump. I've kept it alive, I've kept it wet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these in here. So it's important if you're setting up a hospital tank, especially if you're keeping a lot of fish like I do, that you have some form of biological filtration ticking over in there, something that's mature, that's going to help eradicate any of those nasty ammonias and nitrites from your water column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these a little bit like a sponge filter, and I'm going to stick some air stones in the bags, drop them in. I've got a 4-way pump, so I'll fill 3 bags up with 3 air stones, and then as this is bubbling away, what it will do is it will draw water through that biological filtration, and then I'll get some form of filtering on the water, something that's going to be a little bit of an insurance policy from all the fish poop. What else is important as well is don't feed your fish for a day or two, because you don't want them pooing and crapping into the water column what you're holding them in. So give them a little bit of a 24, 48 hour fast before you bring them over and put them into your tank. Right, so I've got myself back to the old house the day after, and I wanted to do a little bit of maintenance on the tank because it's been a few days. I've let it go a little bit longer than I usually do. and then I didn't want to take a dirty tank to the new house. So I got the scraper, did a little bit of a clean down on it, started scraping all the algae off, but it wasn't long before things started going wrong. Oh, no. No!
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
What?
I've just dropped that and the end's snapped off it.
What is it?
It's what pumps all the water out of the tank.
You're joking.
To do it the old fashioned way now, it's going to take twice as long.
What's the old-fashioned way?
I had to start doing an old-fashioned siphon on the tank, which took twice as long. So it was very time-consuming on the little time I had left in the day. But I did manage to fix that pump in the end. Here, I come back a little bit later on after I found the spare part for my pump, which I needed. And this is me bagging up the fish. So this was very late at night. Really didn't want to be doing this job. I was already knackered from the move, but I had to bag each one of my fish up individually, transport them over to the new house. I was using hair bobbles to tie off the bags with because I didn't have any elastic bands. So in all honesty, this was probably one of the worst parts of the transition over to the new house, was bagging up all these fish individually, because I had to do 3 separate journeys with boxes of fish because I didn't want to have them bagged up for too long sat in the bag. So I was just getting as many as I could. Sometimes I was even double bagging the fish and then getting them over to the new house into the holding barrel so that they could settle in for the next 24 hours before I can set the tank up. Got the fish back. All of the bigger fish are put in the barrel, so your big haps and everything are given more room in that barrel so they had more swimming space. And then what I did is I separated all of the smaller fish, some of the peacock cichlids, and I put them in a separate tank in the kitchen. So we had 2 different tanks, one with majority of my smaller peacocks in, the other with the big haps, because I didn't want them fighting. They both had biological filtration set up. One had an old canister filter from the planted tank upstairs, and then the other had the rocks in, the alpha grog. I came back the next morning to drain the rest of the tank, start bagging up the sand that was left inside it, and then all of the rocks that were in the tank as well. I actually bagged them up. So this is it when it's fresh and clean. I finally got all the sand out, bagged them up so we were keeping them wet. I didn't want the biological bacteria to die inside of the with it drying out. And there it is in the new house. Next, I moved on to rebuilding the plumbing, which caused a few more problems than I thought it would. So I did spring a leak on this return section that I'm fitting here. But I come to realise that I actually had an O-ring missing on the other side. So the weight of the manifold was pulling it down on the actual tank connector at the top, and it was causing a little bit of a gap where it was leaking out. But as soon as I clicked onto it, I put the O-ring back in and managed to fix it. But because I've already solvent welded all of this plumbing, I could keep it together and just screw it back in one piece. I reintroduced the sponges, the mechanical filtration. Again, I kept this bagged up, I kept it wet. It's important to keep all the biological filtration submerged or moist, just to keep that biological bacteria alive. Because what you don't want to do is let it all dry out. You set up a new tank, you dump all these fish in it, and it's got no biological filtration, because then your tank's going to crash. You'd be starting from square one, and it'd be like putting a load of fish into an uncycled tank. So you want to be really careful when you're transporting a system. like I've said earlier on, it is a little bit easier if you've got canister filters because you can just leave them full. But if you've got a sump, then it can be a little bit more complicated. You've got to make sure that you're keeping the bacteria alive. Here is the results of all our labour. That was a monumental task, one that I never want to do again. I really underestimated how much hard work that was going to be. So just juggling this with the move and moving everything else at the same time has absolutely run me into the ground. There was a couple of bumps in the road which I didn't catch on film. So when we were carrying the tank in, me and my mate Ellis, we did drop it a little bit on the corner and got a little bit of a chip there. But luckily, this tank is reinforced with a glass brace all around the bottom as well. So I don't think, touch wood, that this little chip is going to make is going to cause any sort of problems down the line. There's no hairline cracks or anything like that in it, and it's holding up well. We've just treated it with a little bit of silicone just to take the sharp edge away. Unfortunately, I did lose 4 peacocks in the process. Funnily enough, they were all the ones that were in the kitchen tank, so I don't know if I've done something wrong in that tank or whether they're just more, those fish were just more susceptible to the stress of the move. But unfortunately, I did lose 4 fish, which, to be honest, I can live with, considering all these fish have survived and are in good health as well. I had a little bit of an ick scare yesterday where I thought some of the fish might have had ick, but I think they could have just been potentially like air bubbles because I just filled the tank up on the fish's skin. So yeah, I mean, if we did have an outbreak, it's obviously you can easily treat anyway. But I think I was just being a little bit paranoid with it because all the fish seem okay now. But this is the room. This is where our 7-foot beast of a tank is planning to go. So I got this new stand yesterday and built it and put it up. So it's going to be a 7x2x2 tank. I'm planning to run this one just using canister filters. So I don't really want to drill a 7-foot tank because of the money I've spent on it, just in case something bad happens to it. You know, and it breaks or fractures or something. I wouldn't want that. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to run this off 2 canister filters. I've not decided which ones yet, or potentially even some pond filtration as well, just with it being a big tank, because you get a little bit more pressure on the return as well. So we'll see what it comes when we get the tank. We'll have a play around with some ideas and see how we're going to filter it. If you've got any suggestions, drop them in the comments. But I don't want to go down the sump route with this tank. I want to try something a little bit different on this one. And then over here, we've got the Mbuna tank. So that's ready to go. I just need to get a stand for this one. And then ideally, I am going to drill this tank and have a little sump on it because I think it will be a nice little touch to that tank. So yeah, I look forward to setting that up as an Mbuna tank as well. That should be really cool. So we're going to have a nice little African cichlid room where we can really focus on African cichlids, maybe get some Tanganyikans in here as well. I've got the crayfish in here currently. This could potentially be moved downstairs into the basement. So there's a door here that leads down towards a basement underneath, which I don't want to show you because it's a bit sordid. It looks a bit haunted down there, so it's not really worth looking at just yet. I'm gonna, you know, give it a makeover, do it up, give it a lick of paint and everything, and make it nice down there, so that we can have some more tanks set up in the basement. Potentially have some breeding setups as well. But this is it. There's still a lot of work to do. We've got to wait for this tank to get delivered. There's things that I've got to put up on the wall, lights I've got to fit in, rugs I need to put down. So, but yeah, I wanted to give you an update on the tank, finish off this video on the move. We're back in action, we're back filming. So if you like the videos, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you soon.